1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo back again, kicking off the sports week to talk about the past week news, whether it's football or, in this case, this episode, we talk about MMA, UFC, Bellator, stuff like that. Especially this weekend with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 7 coming up. And it's free. It's going to be their first free show that they'll be putting on. I believe it's going to be on fight.tv and also on their YouTube channel, which, speaking of the YouTube channel, head over to our YouTube channel, Stay Tuned Sports, subscribe there. We put all our episodes out there, as well as on iTunes and Spotify, TuneIn, Google Play, all those ones out there. So if you don't want to listen to any of those platforms, just head over to YouTube. Also, while you're on the computer, head over to Twitter. Follow us there at ST Sports Podcast. You can follow my personal one at Jimbo ST Sports, but I'm mostly on the Stay Tuned Sports Twitter handle, so that's where you'll normally see me live tweet, which I will be live tweeting the Bare Knuckle Fighting. Can't even call it a pay-per-view because it's free. But head over to Facebook as well. Like and share our page there. Both on the Twitter and the Facebook page, we have our Teespring website, whatever you want to call it, to go over and buy some of our shirts. It's teespring.com/new Stay Tuned Sports. I don't know why they put the new there, but it is what it is. So, this past last weekend we had UFC Fight Night, Covington versus Robbie Lawler, even though it was in the afternoon. And unfortunately I was working, so I couldn't live tweet to you guys. I did get home in time to see the Clay Guida Jim Miller fight and a little bit of the Colby Covington Robbie Lawler fight, because me and Shoulders recorded that day. And from what I was seeing on Twitter and some of the reactions, I guess Herb Dean didn't have a great night. When it came to the Jim Miller Clay Guida match, they were basically saying it's the third match that he refed, kind of landed the submissions a little bit longer than he probably should have, or should have stopped the match a little sooner. But the other thing it seemed like I was seeing too was it wasn't the greatest fight night show out there. But again, I mean, we got to remember, you're not going to have all A+ cards, you know. You're going to have a couple of clunkers in there, or kind of like fillers. I mean, think about wrestling. You know, you got the main events, obviously, you know, Roman Reigns or whoever it would be nowadays. I haven't watched wrestling in a while, but in the middle you have your fillers just to kind of keep the crowd excited, going, stuff like that. And I'm not saying that UFC is rigged or anything like that, because it's not. I mean, there's definitely a lot of politics that go on behind doors as far as title shots and stuff like that. But yeah, so definitely saw a lot of people not liking it. I was looking forward to the Jim Miller Clay Guida fight over all these other fights, and I really thought it was going to be a stand and bang type match, which kind of started that way till Guida kind of got caught, went in for a takedown, and got choked out. But it was kind of a funny sequence, or kind of exciting sequence. Guida caught Miller and seemed to kind of stun him a little bit, like made him stagger a little bit backwards. Guida came in to not necessarily finish him off, but keep the pressure on him. And then he got caught, stumbled, and that's when he dove in to try to do a takedown. And Jim Miller just put the guillotine choke on him. Herb Dean came in, touched Guida's arm once to see if he's okay. Guida didn't move. Touched it again, maybe a second or two. Didn't move. Waited 2 more seconds. Touched the hand, and then finally called it. I do have to agree with a lot of the fans out there that I think everybody's in Herb Dean's head now, and he's worried about not stopping it soon enough, because the way Guida's hand went limp after the second one, I mean, he should have just stopped right then and there, pulled Miller off. And, I mean, Miller was doing what he was supposed to, you hold on till the ref pulls you off. And luckily, Guida was fine. He woke up, and first round win for Jim Miller. And then the Colby Covington Lawler fight, Covington just basically picked him apart. I know a lot of people were saying, well, he didn't really throw any significant strikes, but he threw enough to win by decision. Basically, 2 judges scored at 50-45 and 1 scored at 50-44. And if you've seen Lawler's face, it was battered and bruised. I mean, he may have had a couple cuts, but it was more black and blue than anything. Which brings up the topic now. Does Covington finally get his title shot? After this is, I believe they said, 7th win in a row. Usman is the champ. Does it go to Covington? Does it go to Masvidal? And according to Dana White, Masvidal is not going to get the title shot. And he's not also going to get the Conor McGregor fight that he wants, which was like an ultimatum or something he gave to Dana White. So, I mean, come on. After these 7-fight win streak you got going here, whether you like the guy or not, for his political views, for his villainy, he deserves a shot. How many fighters out there have a 7-fight win streak going that aren't champions? He did win the interim title. What was it, last year, I believe it was. Had that stripped from him. Now he's the number 1 contender. There should be no reason for Dana White to deny him a title shot. And before anybody says, oh, you're only saying that because you're a fan, I don't like him either. I don't like his antics. His comment about Matt Hughes with winning over Robbie Lawler, about something like Matt Hughes should have taught Robbie Lawler how to stay off the train tracks because I was coming, something really, really bad. But that's how the UFC is nowadays. They need bad guys and they need good guys. That's how you sell pay-per-views. It's not like back when Hoist Gracie or Chuck Liddell and Tito had their beef, but never took personal shots at each other like Conor and Khabib do. That's how it is nowadays. I mean, even look at Dana White and Cris Cyborg, which I'll be getting to in a minute here. Dana White, he comes across as an asshole, but he knows what he's doing. He's being just enough for people to tune in. So like I said, I didn't really see much of the fight, but from the Twitter reaction, if we're going off of that, doesn't seem like it was a great card to watch. So maybe I kind of lucked out and didn't get to see it. So this past week, Cris Cyborg released a video. Well, her YouTube team, released a video showing her finally confronting Dana White backstage at UFC 240. and basically saying, I asked you about the rematch and this and that. And Dana White, the way the video was, came across as he lied to her type deal. Well, came out that here the video got doctored by Cris Cyborg's YouTube team and made it look like I said, Dana lied the whole time. In an interview on UFC's YouTube channel with Dana White, came out this last Friday and said they're done with the Cris Cyborg business. She has a 90-day exclusive rights, negotiation rights with UFC. He said he's waiving that. He'll even go to his lawyer to draw up a letter saying that she's free and clear to go wherever she wants, which, again, I understand. It was her last fight of her contract. I understand the negotiating, right? But you're not letting her go, because he kept saying that, I'm letting her go. And speaking of that, here's pretty much the quote he said. I'm going to release her from her contract, and I will not match any offers she receives. She is free and clear to go to Bellator or any of these other promotions and fight these easy fights she wants. Done deal. I will literally today have my lawyer draft a letter to Justino's team saying that she's free and clear. Now, I don't know if that's really what Cyborg is looking for the easier fights. I mean, I know she's fight-wise older now. She's 34 years old. Maybe just wants to stick in the fight game. But after the video came out and Dana White made these comments, Cyborg came out and apologized to Dana White and said that the video was doctored, and she has talked to her team about it and has taken care of it. Which, I mean, the way this all sounds and the way this all played out, sounds like I wouldn't be surprised if she was behind the video as well, just to get a jump start of giving offers and not wait just 3 months. Because she did make the statement that she wants to go to a promotion where she's going to actually fight and not fight once a year, and have a promotion that's going to respect her. Because the other video that also came out was the Dana White statement from, I think it was like 2014, where he was quoted saying at an MMA award show, "Did you see what she looked like? She looked like a female version of Wanderlei Silva walking around." And turns out, in the same interview that Dana White gave, he said that it was taken out of context, and at the time Ronda Rousey was still with UFC, and it was a media scrum they had, and someone asked Ronda Rousey about Cris Cyborg, who at the time tested positive for steroids, and what Ronda said was, basically she's taken so many, steroids that she doesn't even look like a woman anymore. And so what Dana responded with in this interview last Friday, he said, "I said to the media, did you see her at the MMA awards? Did you not think she was on steroids? I was saying she looked like Wanderlei Silva in a dress. What I meant was she had the same physique as Wanderlei Silva, and 1 month later, Wanderlei Silva evades a drug test and gets a 3-year suspension from the sport." I still don't agree with Dana White saying that about her. I mean, he probably could have worded things differently, but again, like I just said about Colby Covington, That's his persona. He wants to be that a-hole. He wants to be that villain and have people just enough hate him to tune in to see what he's going to say next. Or to buy the pay-per-views to see if he's going to say anything, at the shows. Now, during the same interview, Dana White did leave the door open slightly for a Cyborg reunion because he did compare this to the relationship he had with Tito Ortiz. Which, we did see them eventually reconcile everything. And I think Tito only had like 1 or 2 matches in the UFC after that. Because he was supposed to fight, I think, Chael Sonnen. But then he dropped out, so Forrest Griffin had to fight him and won by decision. But the only way he would bring her back to UFC is if she agrees to the Amanda Nunes rematch. Now, basically, the way I look at it is, all right, Cyborg, you've been saying to the media, saying to your fans, saying to anybody that would listen, that Dana White is the one holding you back from getting that rematch. He's on film, on YouTube, on the company's YouTube channel, saying, I'll even just sign a one-match deal so you can rematch her. You prove that you're telling the truth, that you want the rematch. And I kind of agree with Dana White. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think she wants the easy fights. I don't think that's why she wants to leave. I just think she is tired of the drama that goes on at the UFC with her and Dana White. Now, I am curious to see. He did make a statement about how when she wasn't with UFC, she tested positive for steroids, and when they brought her over to UFC, she basically had to get into the steroid program, the testing and stuff like that. And she's been clean, hasn't been popped for anything. What's going to happen now when, say, she goes to Bellator, who might not have as stringent of a drug test policy? Now, I did see someone say, how awesome would it be to see her in bare knuckle boxing? That would be huge for bare knuckle boxing, especially with Beck Rollins heading over to Bellator. I don't think Beck Rollins has a fight yet, but the women's division over in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship starting to grow. For example, you got Christine Ferreira, where she's the champ. If Cyborg were to sign with them, that'd be basically first fight that she would fight with if Christine wins her fight this weekend. In the end, I still think Bellator is going to be the one to sign her, because I don't think she wants to go over to Japan for one championship, even though they're also pushing big to get back into the U.S. market. Now with them, they don't allow weight cutting, so I don't know how that would work, because the couple of fights that we've seen her fight on, the commentators made some statements about how she walks around a lot bigger than what she's at fight weight. So if she does sign with one championship, which my article I wrote I believe 2 weeks ago over at bellyupsports.com, they are one of the biggest sports industries over in China, so obviously they have money, but Do they have enough money to outbid Bellator? And how would the weight classes go if she's bigger? I mean, they have the 145s, and she's also expressed interest in boxing, so there's a lot of options out there for her. But I think this whole situation with Dana White in the UFC definitely took a shot, to the stomach with this one. And if you guys head over to bellyupsports.com, head over to the forum that we have over there. I posted a thread there who actually came out worse in this relationship, Dana White or Cyborg. And I believe, as much as I don't like Dana White, how he acts and seems to treat his fighters, I think Cris Cyborg came out worse. She won the belt for 145, but she didn't really have a long championship reign. And now with all this doctor videos and the steroids in her past, it's not a good image that she has on her right now. So like I said, this weekend we have Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, which is free on fight.tv. I'm really excited. I mean, depending on how long you guys been listening to my combat sports show here, since day one, I've been all on board with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. They're doing it right. They're not making a gimmick out of it. They just started last June, and here is a year later, and they're already putting on free shows. And if you go back and watch the first pay-per-view compared to last pay-per-view, I mean, everything's so much better. The commentators I was very hard on in the first 2 or 3 pay-per-views. They're a lot better. They didn't seem like they knew the rules in the beginning. Now they do. The sound is a lot better. Like, just overall, the product is getting better and better each time. And I forget, on Twitter, I saw this past week, someone said about this one being free and might have to tune in for my first time or whatever. And I said even their worst one that they put on was decent. Every one so far has been very entertaining. And with this card coming up, again, you got some good, possible, entertaining fights. So as of right now, the fight card lines up with the main event being Leonard Garcia versus Jim Ehlers, which Garcia is figuring if he wins this one, sets him up for a fight with Artem Lobov, which I think that would be a pretty cool fight to watch. We have Melvin Gillard versus Isaac Valley Flag. This is Gillard's bare knuckle debut. He's a former UFC fighter, which seemed like he had a lot of talent in the UFC, but kind of fizzled out and plateaued. So we'll see how he goes with this sport. Then in the heavyweight division, we have Arnold Adams defending his belt for the first time versus Chase Sherman. I think the last time Chase Sherman fought, he fought Sam Shoemaker, and it was a good fight. It was pretty entertaining. Then we also have Kristen Ferreira versus Helen Peralta during the featherweight semifinal tournament. And right before they come on, we have Corinne Laframbos versus Sadie Alt. Now, obviously I'm going to get my picks for each one. I believe this first match, this was probably like a prelims match the past couple of pay-per-views, because I don't really remember their names. The other 4 matches I remember, but for the first match, like I said, we have Corinne Lafrembos versus Sadie Alt. I'm going to go with Sadie Alt, which will take her to the finals. And she will fight, I think, Kristen Ferreira, which will be after her fight here. Kristen Ferreira versus Helen Peralta. She just looks like a dominant fighter. She looked like Beck Rollins, how she looked when she first started fighting in Bare Knuckle. I mean, she has to be the favorite to win this thing, the whole thing. So I think that's going to set up a good finals fight between Kristen Ferreira and Sadie Alt. After that, we had Arnold Adams, who is the champ, versus Chase Sherman. Now, both these men fought Sam Shoemaker. Excuse me. Arnold Adams has some very, very good boxing. Sherman, I don't know if he has enough boxing skill to win this, whether it be a knockout or a decision. I think Adams is just the better boxer here. Sherman, I believe, is a younger fighter, so I mean, you know, he won't be a one and done. But I'm going to go with Adams on this one, winning and defending his belt for the first time. Then we have the co-main event, which is Melvin Guillard in his debut versus Isaac Valley Flag. I'm going to go with Guillard. From what I remember about Valley Flag in his last fight, the first round he just looked real sloppy. And then the second round he came on and ended up winning it. But Guillard has power, he has knockout power, and he can put you away anytime. So Valley Flag can't really play around. You know, he's got to make sure he's very defensive, keeps his hands up, or else Gillard's going to put him away, which I think is going to happen. So I'm going with Melvin Guillard for my pick. Then we have the main event, Leonard Garcia versus Jim Ehlers. Both guys are good fighters. They both put on good fights last time. Garcia versus Jesus, I forget the guy's name now. I was going to say Jason Knight, but he was the original opponent. And then Jim Ehlers, the same thing. He had a nasty, nasty knockout. I'm going to go with Jim Ehlers here, though, because I think Garcia is a little older and a little bit of has a little bit of war on him. And Ehlers, I think, has a little bit of a little bit more gas in the tank than Garcia as well. So, going to go with Ehlers with I could see this being a decision and being up there with like the Artem Lobov Jason Knight fight. This could be a brutal fight for both guys. So, that's my picks for Saturday. Like I said, I'm going to live tweet it. I believe they start at 9 o'clock, which I love. They probably do the prelims at 8 o'clock if there is any. But either way, head over to Twitter. You can follow the show at ST Sports Podcast. And, with me live tweeting and everything, don't be afraid to throw some interactions. Disagree with me if you want. I don't care. I like the interactions with everybody there. But also head over to Facebook, like and share our page. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, TuneIn. Head over to teespring.com/new Stay Tuned Sports. We got shirts there, hoodies, different, bunch of different stuff for you guys to purchase to show your support for our wonderful show here. So till tomorrow, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.